right, two of our biggest models showing a hurricane in the Pacific, which will then in turn affect conditions on the other side of Central America, the Atlantic side, causing a few different possibilities of storm situations that we're going to look at. And of course, it's no surprise that the GFS is showing a little bit of a stronger hurricane, a Category 4, 938 millibars. And then once that energy makes its way into the Atlantic side of Central America, we look at this thing possibly breaking up into 3 separate low pressure systems, which we definitely need to take a look at. As always, these forecasts are subject to change, but as we approach that June 1st date and the waters in the Gulf and around the Atlantic Ocean are getting warmer, we are starting to see the beginning of these cyclones, these hurricanes forming. And not just here on this channel, but overall weather companies are calling for early season hurricanes based on the fact that we are still going to be in a La Nina for almost the 3rd year in a row, which will limit shear wind in one of the most crucial parts of the Atlantic Ocean where hurricanes form and then head towards the United States. We will also discuss how the La Nina affects the Pacific side of the ocean, and we're going to break this all down right here, right now. Let's go. All right, my friends, welcome back. It is May 25th, 2022, and we got to take a look at the CMC and the GFS models today because both of them are sticking to their guns about this Pacific side hurricane that will more than likely form, making landfall in Mexico, and then in some ways kind of exiting into the Gulf, in turn creating some situations we need to look at within the Atlantic side of Central America. So what we're going to do is walk through the GFS and the CMC models step by step to show you what these cause and effects might be from this Pacific hurricane that they are pretty certain on right now. And when I say they, I mean pretty much every single model is showing the formation of this hurricane to begin with, and then in one way or another causing issues on that Atlantic side. So here we go. We'll go ahead and take a look at the GFS first because we all know the GFS loves to make things a little interesting no matter what the situation is. But in this particular case, we're looking at a very strong Pacific hurricane. All right, so what I did here is I brought up 2 different versions of the actual GFS so we can look at different features and how these low pressure systems are going to form after the fact. So here we go. We're going to look at this one first. You can see this is already a strong hurricane by the time we reach May 29th. So we're going to back up a little bit to the 25th so we can get to current time, and that's about right here. So at this point, we're just seeing a tiny bit of a blip of severe weather down in this area, but as we go, each click is about 6 hours. The beginning formation of this low pressure system starts around May 27th. That's the day after tomorrow. And as I said, it's not just the GFS and the CMC models that are showing this. It's pretty much every model at this point showing this formation of a hurricane, not just a tropical storm, but a full-blown hurricane in the Pacific Ocean and then hooking north, making landfall into Mexico. You could see that here as we roll through the rest of this GFS version. And as you can see, it quickly breaks up just after landfall. We mentioned this in another video, so now we have more data and we're seeing what this is going to do after the fact. So as you can see right away, just after landfall, the energy of this storm and the atmospheric conditions break it up into 3 pieces. And if I go ahead and backtrack a little bit, you can almost see how all 3 of these situations come from this one hurricane. So again, we're down here at about 941 millibars in pressure. That's a Category 4 hurricane. So Mexico really needs to be on its toes for this one. We have it crossing that area to the west of Cancun, Mexico, entering into the Gulf. One piece breaks off right here, as you can see, a low pressure system, and then we already have another low pressure system up here. Now, it's possible that this one is a whole separate entity on its own. It just looks like it kind of flows out of the energy of this hurricane. So one more time, I'll back up on this version of the GFS. Right here, we're at 950 millibars on May 29th. We have landfall around May 30th, and then as we move into the 31st and then June 1st, we already have 3 separate pieces. We have one that has crossed over into the Gulf. We have the formation of the second one up here, which may be a separate entity. And then if we move one more day, we can see all 3 of these at the same time. We have 1, 2, and then 3. So a piece of this actually goes into Mexico, backs back out. Another one crosses what looks to be the Cancun part of Mexico into the Gulf near Cuba. And then once again, our third one up here. Now in this version of the GFS, we're going to be able to identify those 3 low pressure systems a little bit easier without all that other mess in the middle of it. So here we go again. We are looking at Sunday, May 29th. Right here is our hurricane. We're going to move forward into May 30th is right about here. And then we have landfall later on in the 30th. I can go back and forth and show you exactly that. May 30th landfall. And then immediately as we move into May 31st, we see the pop-up of the first low pressure system, which may be a separate entity. I know I keep saying that, but we need to understand that to understand what's going on with the rest of this weather that's going to happen after this. So we'll keep moving forward through the first. We can see this low pressure system is now hooking towards the Carolinas, or at least the outer banks of the Carolinas on the east coast of the United States. And we keep moving forward. We see our low pressure system go across Cancun, Mexico, and kind of dip down right into this area. Now we move into the last part of June 2nd, and we can already see low pressure system here, low pressure system here, and then a third one up here near the east coast of the United States. So a very interesting cause and effect with this Pacific hurricane basically bringing its energy into the Atlantic Ocean, causing all different sorts of situations. Now let's keep in mind that over this period of time, these things can change. This doesn't mean that this is the exact data that's going to happen. It means that this is what we have to work with right now within a 5-day period. So technically we should only be really looking up into about the 30th, which is when this thing is going to make landfall. So we can almost guarantee we're going to see a Pacific hurricane. We're going to see that northern hook making landfall into Mexico. And then in the next 2 or 3 days, that's when we're really going to see what happens with these 3 low pressure systems as far as what the GFS said. Now, as far as the CMC, which I have pulled up for us here, we start to see the formation of the hurricane on May 27th. That is 2 days from now. We're about 1,005 millibars in pressure right here. The CMC showing a little bit of a weaker hurricane. We all know that GFS loves to enhance hurricane strengths and wind speeds, but nonetheless, still a hurricane making landfall in Mexico between May 29th and May 30th, which is within that 5-day period of time we're allowed to really make these educated guesses. Now, what the CMC shows after the fact is more of a Gulf of Mexico situation. As you can see, a low pressure forms in the Gulf just after that landfall, so it's almost as if the hurricane, which we're going to backtrack here, makes landfall with Mexico, crosses over that part of Mexico, and then reforms as a low pressure system within the Gulf of Mexico. And once this thing gets in here, anything can happen. So if we actually have the low pressure system being measured within the next couple days, we can very much see an invest being projected on our 2-day and our 5-day charts. All right, now I know this is a lot of information to take in on one video, but it's still very important. And what I mean by the 2-day and 5-day charts is exactly this. So you're looking at our 48-hour chart, which would be our 2-day chart. You can see we have no invest right now as far as the Atlantic Ocean, but if we go ahead and click the eastern part of this chart, we can see not one, but 2 separate invests. One at 20% chance of cyclone formation within 2 days, and then the one we've been looking at this entire video, the disturbance one with 30% chance of cyclone formation over the next 48 hours. Now going over to the 5-day chart, again, we don't see anything within the Atlantic Ocean quite yet. I feel like that's going to change in the next few days once this hurricane in the Pacific makes landfall with Mexico. But again, if we click the Pacific side, we can immediately see that this red disturbance 1, has an 80% chance of cyclone formation over the next 5 days. So a very high probability of this hurricane forming, as we've been discussing throughout the video, and making landfall with Mexico within that 5-day forecast. And finally, before I let you guys go, I know this is a long video, I want to just very quickly explain the La Nina in a nutshell for the Pacific side and then for the Atlantic side. As you can see, with the La Nina in place, which it looks like we are going to have, you can see that it is likely that less storms will take place in the Pacific Ocean based on vertical shear wind and also cooler water temperatures. But on the other side of that, that basically means the opposite for the Atlantic side. With the La Nina in place, it means less shear wind for that part of the Atlantic Ocean where we see our storms come off that western coast of Africa, the Cape Verde Islands, and then travel all the way through the Lesser Antilles and Leeward Islands, and then they hook up towards the United States. So that area you're looking at in that yellow is exactly where a lot of our stronger storms form later on in the season, and they're going to have less shear wind to stop them from coming. And again, this is very much in a nutshell. I will be explaining this in much more detail throughout other videos as the season continues, but I just wanted to get you guys an overall idea of what this La Nina means. My friends, with that said, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. I will continue forecasting the situation as we get more data and as we get closer to that June 1st date, which is the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season. We're going to have plenty more to talk about and probably plenty more longer videos describing these forecasts. Please utilize that comment section down below with any ideas or theories you might have, questions or concerns as well. Shout out to Canada. I will see you guys all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. Stop right there, my friends. If you have not already, click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit the bell icon. Click all and you will get all notifications from this channel. And trust me, you won't be disappointed.